Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. A good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. A hired man who is not a shepherd and whose sheep are not his own sees a wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away. And the wolf catches and scatters them. This is because he works for pay and has no concern for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know mine and mine know me, just as the Father knows me and I know the Father, and I will lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. These also I must lead, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock, one shepherd. This is why the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own. I have power to lay it down and power to take it up again. This command I have received from my Father. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
It's really a beautiful image that Jesus uses to describe himself as the good shepherd tending to his flock of sheep. And yet, although there are currently, according to a website, over 1 billion sheep in the world, with China having 175 million of them, the most of any country, we Americans may find it hard to relate to shepherding since we don't often see shepherds and sheep around this part of the United States. Although a couple of sheep farms are in our area. 2/3 of all the sheep in our country are actually found in the western states, so they could probably relate to it much better than we can. The most unique shepherd I ever saw was at a Benedictine monastery just near Elmira, Mount Savior, while I was on retreat there just a few years ago. The monks there take turns caring for the sheep, doing their part. And yet, the main shepherd keeping daily watch in the sheep field was, believe it or not, a trained donkey. The monks had tried using a trained dog and even a trained horse, but they still had wolves and calves or coyotes getting in there and killing off the sheep. So they found that their best shepherd was this donkey who would keep all the wild animals away. Now, I don't know how much you know about sheep apart from the sound they make or from the fact that we certainly get wool from them for our clothing, and that some of us may enjoy lamb dinner. I particularly like it with mint jelly. Now, I'm sure that Jesus ate a few lambs in his time. He was not a vegetarian. He especially ate lamb at the Passover meal since he was Jewish. I actually saw on a PBS website a few interesting facts about sheep. Maybe you know about these. For example, did you know that sheep are found in products such as soap, and candles, and cosmetics, and skincare items, and yes, in the strings of tennis rackets? Sheep also have amazing peripheral vision, seeing almost 360 degrees around them because of their large pupils, rectangular shape. And they even can see behind themselves without turning their heads. They don't need eyes in the back of their heads like we do. And although sheep have very good memories for recognizing some human faces and some sheep faces for a couple years, they still are not considered the smartest animals in the animal kingdom, because they can easily wander off from the rest of the flock, and they're pretty defenseless against wolves and coyotes and other predators. They need protectors to bring them back when they've strayed, to properly feed and nourish them, and to hopefully keep them out of harm's way. They can be trained, though, to recognize and obey the voice of their shepherd. You know, back in Jesus' time and place, shepherds were among the poorest of people. And men became shepherds back then, not because the money was good, but they really loved tending sheep. They did whatever was necessary to protect their sheep, since their whole livelihood was wrapped up in them. And shepherds pretty much treated sheep like family. They ate with them. They often slept among them, so they probably didn't smell all that good. And they'd even laid down their lives to protect them because the sheep meant so much to them, like family. So when you consider what Jesus did for you and me, that image really fits, doesn't it? Just like the shepherd watching over his sheep, Jesus calls all of us to follow him and to heed his voice and stay close to his flock, his truth, his way in the faith community. And you know, Christians throughout the world are called by Jesus to be one flock guided by him. But sadly, that is not the present reality, is it? We are all splintered all over the place with so many different denominations. Just think of the wonderful harmony that all of us could have and enjoy if we always strive to heed Jesus' voice. How easy it can be in this day and age to wander away like sheep from the voice of Jesus as our shepherd, with so many other voices distracting us, with problems and pains to contend with many pleasures bombarding us each and every day. So many voices try to convince us with things like, well, these material things will keep you happy, or money is the answer to all of your problems, or get what you can for yourself. Who cares how it affects other people? Just do your own thing. You know, it's kind of like the hired man that we hear about in today's gospel, who shepherds just for the money, not out of love or concern for the sheep. For him, it's what's in it for me, first and foremost. And if we buy too much into that material mindset or selfish mindset, well, we can be like the sheep wandering from the flock, unaware of all the dangers and problems we may be walking into, things that may even cost us our health, or relationships dear to us, or our own peace of mind, and maybe even our life. Do we let Jesus be the shepherd over our emotions, or do we just give them free rein without any self-control or restraint? Case in point with that, I remember a very sad case about a 13-year-old boy in California who was very disturbed about his baseball team having lost its first game of the season. So instead of congratulating the other team for a job well done or learning about how he and his team could do better in the future, the boy chose to act out on his anger and bitter disappointment. So he took a baseball bat and struck a 15-year-old boy from the winning team on the head. And that 15-year-old boy ended up dying. A senseless, painful tragedy that disrupted the lives of who knows how many people. And now that 13-year-old boy has to live with the fact for the rest of his life that he took a life because he listened not to the peaceful, uniting voice of Jesus as the good shepherd, but the voice of the slave master that we call selfish anger. We can only hope that all those connected with that terrible incident have found some degree of new hope and healing and peace in their lives. And that's a powerful lesson of how letting our emotions rule over us instead of Jesus as shepherd can lead to ruin. It's good to take frequent looks at ourselves as to how we deal with one another on a daily basis, especially those closest to us. Do our selfish desires, our lack of understanding at times, our impatience, our frustration get the better of our judgments and reason at times? And you know, we're not only called to be sheep, following Jesus the shepherd, but we can be shepherds too. And the way we lead others by our examples. So maybe we could ask ourselves, how well are we shepherding? How well are we being a good role model to other people? You know, so often in the many years I've been a priest, I've heard many people complain about the same things again and again. Things like how people don't seem to respect authority anymore, or anyone else for that matter. Of how people choose the wrong ways of violence and drugs and alcohol and pornography and other unhealthy outlets to alleviate their pain and stress. Of how people seek revenge on those who have hurt them, and they try to hurt them back instead of seeking the path of peace and forgiveness that Jesus promotes. Or of how so many people don't take enough responsibility for their own actions. They always blame it on somebody else. Not caring about the importance of role modeling or good shepherding. Especially role modeling for those most vulnerable in our society. Who is that? Our children. Are we being good role models to them? As parents, as friends, neighbors, teachers. And people can also give in to the voice of depression and despair, getting stuck in that state, especially when maybe, for example, a loved one dies, or when a problem seems too big and insurmountable for us. Maybe we need to take more quiet time to see how Jesus may be speaking to us, and what would he be saying to us? Well, I bet it would be along the lines of this. Just let me be your shepherd. You be my sheep. Just trust my voice that I may lead you to safer, more peaceful pastures. That I may protect you from all those predators who want to devour you and ruin you. All the lies out there. I have proven my love for you as the shepherd because I laid down my life for you. I gave my all for you out of love. I am always with you, guiding you to all things right and true.